Good afternoon and thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA09925339. Our top stories this hour. Electoral Commission assures of voter roll integrity, extending by 2 days voter register exhibition exercise. But the NDC insists the NDC is demanding more engagement as it predicts what it calls greater challenges ahead with 74 days to the election. We'll also take you to Cape Coast North Constituency, where NDC parliamentary candidate besieged the Electoral Commission office to demand his card. After a court order granted, he should finally be registered. An headless body of someone identified as chief in the Awutu traditional area found, as 3 others are critically injured in what is reportedly a brawl over land. We revisit our conversations from yesterday as the BEC results are out. We look at the school placement system that's often chaotic and confusing. We're live with the Ghana Education Service to find out what we ought to do to break the cycle of chaos. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube, also on Facebook and our other social media platforms. My name is Gifty Ando-Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. We begin from Cape Coast. Now, NDC parliamentary candidate for the Cape Coast North, Dr. Kwame Naminta Nyako, with supporters of the NDC today besieged the EC regional offices to demand the card of the candidate. This follows an order of mandamus granted by an Accra High Court for the candidates to be registered. The candidate's voter ID was withheld by the EC after the registration exercise. Listen to some of the supporters.
For an obvious reason, just a few days ago, precisely Tuesday, Cape Coast North presidential candidate Kwame Naminta Nyako won the case in court, High Court in Accra. Following that, we are here to make sure that he has his card and all other electoral processes we go through. But look at what we are witnessing. Telling us we should wait for 2 hours, wait for 3 hours. The long and short, they are now telling us that we should go and come tomorrow. This is absolutely nonsense, pardon me for my language. We just don't understand this particular government. Taking the political history, there's a serious distortion in the whole system. Let me tell you, for example, our founder, Kwame Nkrumah, look at what happened. A whole founder, now you want to sideline him in Ghana political history. Just look at this. Secondly, look at our democracy. He's distorting our democracy. Now, easy, look at what is happening now, where so many people have registered, but when they go for verification during these exhibitions, their names are not there. What sort of government is this? In fact, all we are seeking is that give our man's card to him and let's continue with the process so that we restore him. That incompetent woman, they call her as a Barbara also, we don't need such a person. We just don't need such a person. We need our man here to make sure that we have development in Cape Coast North and to move on.
Okay, your name?
They shouldn't dare us, please. Okay. My name is Jacob Ewuzi from UCC.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, the supporters had insisted that without the card, they would not leave the offices of the EC. The police actually had to be called in to control the situation. Let's get on the phone now and speak to our correspondent for the Central Region, Richard Kojo Nyako, who will give us more details. Richard, let's begin with what is happening right now. Have they left or are they still there?
Well, so there are some that are still here, but a lot of them too that have left. They were prevailed upon by the NDC regional chairman, who came here and then pleaded with them that, well, the EC has indicated that they are consulting the national headquarters to give them directives as to what to do, whether to return the card to the parliamentary candidate or whatever they will say, then it will be communicated to them. And so they have given them by tomorrow they should come. But that time, the EC regional offices would have received some information from their national headquarters for these teaming supporters and for the parliamentary candidate as well, whether the card is indeed going to be given to Dr. Kwame Naminta Nyako, the parliamentary candidate for the NDC in the Cape Coast North constituency.
So some of them are still there, despite this communication they've had from the EC officials there. What are they doing there?
Well, so they said some of them are adamant. They say that, well, they are going to still wait until they get they see that their candidate has had the card. They are not going to leave. But let's get to the genesis of all of these things. The parliamentary candidate went to register in Kamfwa, a suburb of Cape Coast, and then was challenged. And then when he was challenged, his card was withheld by the Electoral Commission. So he appeared before the District Election Review Committee, and then they held the case against him. Then he exercised his right of appeal, went to the Chief Registration Review Officer, who is a High Court judge. And so the sitting was done at the Cape Coast High Court, where the MPP even applied for joining that because they said that they had interest in this case because whatever the consequences are, it would affect them in any way in the coming election. And so the case was subsequently dismissed. But in the ruling of the judge indicated that the constitutional right under Article 42 of the 1992 Constitution of this candidate has not been extinguished. This means that the candidate has the right for the candidate to register has not lost. And so based on that, the candidate proceeded to the EC national headquarters to demand that he is registered. The EC declined the request by the candidate. And so thereon, they filed an application for mandamus to compel the EC to register the candidate. And so the case was, the judgment was given 3 days ago. The judge indicated that, well, the right of this candidate has not been extinguished. And so the court compelled the EC to register the candidate, even though the candidate card has been withheld. So following from that, the candidate returned to Cape Coast, went to the Cape Coast Metro office of the Electoral Commission to demand his card. But the officers told him that the card cannot be given him unless they have orders from or instructions from their headquarters to do so. This morning, they marched up in front of the Electoral Commission's office at the regional center. And then when they went, they were given the same excuse or the same reasons by the regional chair of the Electoral Commission, who told them that she has sent a mail to the national headquarters and she's expecting something from them. Let's listen to the parliamentary candidate for the Cape Coast North constituency, Dr. Kwamina Mintanyako, who was also at the EC office today.
Right.
We came here to ask from the EC why there has been a delay in my registration. The court issued an order on Tuesday, and on that Tuesday we served the EC with the order. From there, we came to Cape Coast yesterday. We gave a copy to the district, and then we've also come to the region to give them a copy. Apparently, when we got here yesterday, the regional officer wasn't there. So this morning we had to come and see her. So we came to demand reasons why the registration has not been effected.
What have they been telling you?
Apparently, most of the information has been one directional, which is they are waiting for directive from national. So what it means is that each of them have their respective levels of position and command, and they cannot do that unless the national directs them to do so. So we came there to ask them to expedite that motion that we have been here. And for that matter, national should tell them exactly what they should do, and they will take it from there.
Does it surprise you that this one was done about 3 days ago? The order compelling the EC to register you was done about 3 days ago, and the national EC has been served, and then the regional and the metropolis have all been served. Are you surprised that still they have not really registered you or have not carried out the orders of the court?
Yes, I'm really surprised, because what it means is that they are not really taking the order seriously. Because what it meant was that we were supposed to have taken that order and the registration should have been done. You see, there has been issues with the EC's activity all this while. The emphasis here is that my name is already on the system, which they claim wasn't. So when we were doing the exhibition, I went to check and my name was there. Prior to that, they had told us that we've been disqualified and our name are not on that particular list. So we were surprised to see that my name was on the list. And then the serious part of it is that the name on the list, someone has used a red pen to write disqualified. And I think that is even unethical. If my name was not on the list, why should my picture appear on the exhibition? Okay. And secondly, why should someone use a pen? I'm sure the system should have taken my name to the session list. But once it's there, that means there's been some issues there. Because remember, during the registration, my card was issued to me I left the premises. I was called back to come, that someone has challenged me after an hour. Then they took the card from me. When the end of day report came, my name was not captured on the challenge list. That means invariably I wasn't challenged. Okay, the EC lawyer came and lied. When I was challenged, my argument was that the person should be resident in the electoral area. I have 2 properties in the same electoral area. Unfortunately, the EC lawyer came again and lied that 3rd Ridge is in Cape Coast South. Meanwhile, the EC movement plan captures 3rd Ridge and Nkampo electoral area as one electoral area. So on what basis are you saying that my 3rd Ridge property is in Cape Coast South? These are discrepancies that has come up, and I'm sure that is what is also delaying them to go out with the registration because of their own unethical behavior that has happened. And you see, the sad thing is that when I was challenged, that was on the 7th of July. The returning officer signed it on the 8th of July. Why? That date should have been on the 7th. So that means there's something going on, and we need to find out what actually is pushing this agenda.
Are these happenings threatening your ambition because you're already a parliamentary candidate on a ticket of a political party? Do you sense that it is a threat against your right to contest for this year's election?
Exactly, in my opinion, that has been the issue, because they know that time for filing is fast approaching. Their denial will mean that I will not be able to file. And if I'm not able to file, that means I can't contest. And that is why we need the expeditious nature of this thing to be enacted, so that I'll be able to register and file accordingly and win the seat for the NDC party.
So are you going to leave this place because you've not really been granted anything that you have required? They say that the leadership at their national headquarters, they are in a meeting. What happens when we leave here? Are you going to stay here till you get a card?
No, we've been having a very good conversation with the regional officer, and she's made it out known to us that she's talking to national. And for that matter, we should come tomorrow, and then she's hopeful she'll give us the right information that we so desire. So we'll be here tomorrow. However, should we not get the card tomorrow, or should we not get any positive feedback, the rest will be a thing of the past.
So the rest are in your bosom,
exactly,
and you will release them?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
But so definitely it's not going to go on a smooth base. Definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
So that's the parliamentary candidate himself talking to my colleague, Richard Kojonyako, who is our correspondent in the region. Richard is still on the line with me. Richard, so it looks like they've given themselves up to tomorrow to settle this.
Yes, exactly. So tomorrow is the date. The EC regional officer told them that by tomorrow she would have had some communication from the national headquarters, so they could come for whatever they are expecting. So tomorrow, I expect that the supporters will be there in their numbers, because yesterday there was a brass band procession to the EC's office in order to get the card and all of that. So this thing there's been back and forth about this one. So he getting the card will be one of the happiest moments in the lives of the people or the supporters of the NDC here.
Let's wrap up with what I'm seeing, some of the visuals that I have just seen and that we're showing on air. Some eggs and some schnapps. What was all that about?
So this morning, these were some of the things that happened. There were cases that, they held against the Electoral Commission. So you see in the shot, eggs, some of them have been used already in the cases, and some schnapps. So they held cases against the Electoral Commission. They believe that they are the reason why they are where they are now, and their candidate has no voters ID card. And so it happened for about 2 hours. And then if you go to the scene right now, these eggs and the schnapps are still here. And until the last person leaves, the schnapps and then the eggs will be here. But the police were here in their numbers, but no one said anything about it. They ensured that sanity prevailed when the doors were locked on the supporters here. They did not allow them to come in. So the regional chairman of the NDC came and then calmed them down, spoke to them that they have had some conversation with the regional EC director, and they are expected to go back. Anything that they do, any untoward thing that they do, might be used against them or might go against the candidate. So that is why a lot of them, about 90% of the population here, we saw in the morning, left.
Richard, thank you very much for that update. So those are some of the visuals that Richard brought earlier from Cape Coast. It looks like I said, they've given themselves up till tomorrow to either take action if they don't get the card, or Well, we wait to see. Now, the opposition NDC says it will not accept the result of what it is calling a flawed election. At a just-ended media briefing on the exhibition of the voter register, the party's flag bearer, John Mahama, said the party will resist any move that will result in holders of the voter's ID card not participating in the December elections. The party alleges the ongoing voter exhibition exercise has revealed that the voters register is not credible, aside from what it alleges to be a grand plot to remove its sympathizers from it. John Mahama says his running mate's voter ID card has been found to be invalid during the exhibition in KEEA. She's had to hand over that old card, and a new card was issued to her at the district EC office in Elmina. He says in some areas like Aswase, more names have been added to the register that previously did not exist. We'll bring you details of that shortly, but some prospective voters in the voter region are already expressing concerns about their inability to find their names on that register.
Unko amopan kome jejemle register moa anye miapa jijibe isi bossa na wona na chung alabe anye jijibe makonya pa kadlashi.
We are concerned that some people can't find their names in the register. It is worrying. The EC must fix the situation because we don't want any surprise on December 7. This can trigger a lot of confusion and we don't want it, so the EC must address it.
Registration center.
During the time of registration, there were a lot of people who attained 18 years. So it created a lot of pressure on EC to register. So sometimes mistake can come for a correction. So if there is any mistake.
So those were some residents of Ketu South in the Volta region. Ivy Setoji spoke with them. Let's find out if this issue, how widespread this issue is. Ivy.
Hello, good afternoon.
Ivy, I know, good afternoon. I know you've spoken to some people, but how many of these people have admitted that they can't find their names in the register? How widespread would you say this is based on your interactions with the people?
Okay, so far, 15 people have found it in the voters register when they went to check. And some of them also said that they had to their phone, it was there, but when they go to the EC office or the exhibition center to check. So about this, the 50 people who spoke to me are worried about the situation. They want it to rectify as possible because, according to them,
can you hear me, Ivy?
Yeah, hello. Yes,
I missed bits and pieces of what you said. Do you want to summarize it again for me so our viewers can hear you?
What I said earlier was about 15 people who spoke to me and said they couldn't find their name in the register. And some of they checked on their phone. The names were there on the phone. But when they go to the exhibition centers, their names were not on the register. So they are kind of confused as to how possible that can be that their names were checked on the phone and it was there and then it's not in the main register. So they want it to rectify as early as possible because a lot of people are complaining. So that is the situation. We are still checking to see if more people have been affected by the situation.
Ivy, thank you very much. We'll leave it there because of the quality of sound we're getting. But Ivy indicates that at least she's spoken in the last few hours to at least 15 people who all confirm they could not find their names in the register. We head to the Upper East region where concerns over there as well have emerged over missing names. Albert Sori is correspondent. Albert, what is the situation and what are EC officials saying? Let's start with the situation first.
We saw that the NDC shared a list that they have of some people in the Binduri constituency of the Upper East region who names were missing in the voters' register. Now, these are names from as many as 23 polling stations. The list, number of people we see in the list that they gave is one polling station that has 25 people whose names are missing. But there are some who have, some polling stations that have up to as many as 457 names. Now, if you look at the list that they have, you are talking about thousands of names if you total it. So we cross-checked with the Electoral Commission this morning, and the Deputy Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Walanyo Mensah, who we spoke to, would not say if the name that the NDC actually has is the number that they can't find. But he did say that they realized at the beginning of the exhibition that these challenges were there. Some people in that constituency couldn't find their names. His explanation is that these names are not actually names that are missing. But then when they came to the polling station and checked through the electoral roll, the names were not there. But there are those who were asked to come to the office of the Electoral Commission when they couldn't find their names. Actually, when they came and put their hands on the biometric machine, the names popped up. So it's a technical challenge, which he said he wasn't in the position to explain because they have sent that complaint to the office in Accra, and that explanation will be given. What he did say categorically was that the names are not missing. It's only that they are not showing on the electoral roll. But these people, their biometric details and their names are still there, So the problem that resulted in their names not being found is being resolved as we speak.
Albert, have you had the chance to engage with any of these people who, like we spoke to in the Volta region, who can't find their names in the register?
Unfortunately, not, because this just came to our attention this morning. So with the exhibition now being over, it's been difficult to get to them. But the Electoral Commission says that these are challenges that they actually saw from the beginning of the exhibition.
Albert, thank you very much for that update. Albert, sorry there from the Upper East region with the situation there. We're taking you to the Volta region and to the Upper East region where names don't seem to be in the register. Let's now hear from John Mahama, who is flag bearer of the party, on the anomalies recorded at the various centers.
Breach by candidates can result in dire consequences including disqualification. So how can we achieve this with a register that is riddled with such inaccuracies and irregularities? My brothers and sisters, one of the more startling revelations in respect of the ongoing exhibition exercise is a viral video of some EC officials secretly printing new voter ID cards for unknown registrants. This irregular conduct of the EC, which it has finally admitted to, casts a dark cloud over an already compromised process and is clearly against the law. Already the NDC has raised a number of important questions in a letter that we dispatched to the EC chairperson that must be answered urgently and candidly. And the first question we ask in the letter is, when did it come to the attention of the EC that some of the voters' ID cards issued to registrants during the recent voter registration exercise had duplicate ID numbers and therefore were defective? And the second question is, why did the EC not inform the political parties, who are the major stakeholder in our electoral process, in the spirit of fairness and transparency and in line with our established electoral practice? Indeed, the normal process would have been to invite political parties to deploy their agents to monitor any such process in accordance with our electoral laws and conventions. In its reaction to the viral video, the EC itself stated that this problem has been identified in as many as 100 districts throughout the country. I reiterate the demand of our General Secretary for the EC to publish in full the names and particulars of all persons issued with defective voters' ID cards. In addition to these very disturbing developments, we have noticed that the Commission failed to deploy BVD devices to all exhibition centers to allow for confirmatory fingerprint verification during the exhibition exercise. We further found out in some areas that there were huge differences between the total number of registrants as issued in the daily registration printouts, which was given to our agents during the voters' registration, and the total number of registrants contained in the provisional register at the same centers. As one of its main arguments for the compilation of a new voters' register, the Commission asserted that the methods and systems to be adopted for the compilation of this new register will eliminate the need for the process of manual verification. In view of this, Parliament approved a huge budget for the acquisition of 75,000 BVDs for all registration centers. One would think that these BVDs would have been deployed to each of the over 33,000 exhibition centers across the country in order to test the efficacy of the machines now. As it is, only 5,000 have been deployed nationwide, thus raising the possibility of widespread manual verification of voters on election day if these BVDs fail to function properly. All these matters, among others, must be discussed as part of a dialogue between EC and IPAC about the way forward. And finally, I wish to make an appeal to the international community, international election observers, and our domestic observers. Given all that has gone amiss with the electoral process and the likelihood of continued greater challenges ahead of this year's election, I'll want to urge them to focus their lenses on Ghana and arrive earlier in the country than ever before. This will enable them to engage the EC, IPAC, and all stakeholders as part of efforts to resolve these major problems with the register. My brothers and sisters,
so that's the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. Joseph Opoku Gakpo was at that press conference which ended a while ago, and he's joining me on Zoom to give us more on that. Joseph, thank you for your time this afternoon. Now, there are a few issues that the NDC is raising. I mean, some not very new, but they're raising concerns about acceptability of the election results.
Former President Mahama made the point that if there is a flawed election, they can't be counted on to accept the outcome of that flawed election. And when the minority leader, Haina Idrisu, also got onto the podium, he rightly repeated that same point, that no one can accept, can expect them to accept the outcome of a flawed election. One of the questions that we did put to Mr. Mahama, seeking a reaction to, was what the alternatives were if they would not accept the outcome of a flawed election. That question was virtually glossed over in the course of the responses that went out from Mr. Mahama and the rest of the team. But they've insistently been making the point that the Constitution makes the point that there should be free and fair election, and that's wholly guaranteed. That is why they are insisting that it's only the outcome of a good election that's not flawed that they at the level of the NDC will go ahead and accept.
Let's talk about the numbers they put out today. Do they have a compilation of everything that essentially summarizes and says this is the figure of, or the figure of missing names as far as they're concerned? I know that they went, about it in a bit of a checkered way where they mentioned constituencies or various places, including Ashaiman. But do they have a figure that sums it all up?
So let me try and go through some of the specific examples from the Bindiri constituency to Klotikole to Japa. But just to begin, even the running mate of John Mahama, Professor Jena Nopukwajiman, from what Mr. Mahama told the news conference, has also had some difficulties with her name on the register, to the extent that, according to Mr. Mahama, she requested that someone goes to check her name on the register the feedback that they got was that there was a problem with her name on the register and she had to show up herself. She moved all the way to KEA, that's the Commander Edina Eguafo Abrem constituency, got to the district headquarters of the EC. She was told that there is a duplicate individual using the number on her card as well. So then they had to go ahead and take that card, destroy it completely, and reissue a new card to her. And Mr. Mohammed's concern is that for Professor Nana Jinopoko, she was able to make the trip all the way from somewhere in the KEA constituency to the district capital to get that rectified. But when you look at the others, then chances are low that they could get those problems rectified even before the election itself. In the Binduri constituency, the NDC says there are about 444 people who couldn't find their names on the register, apart from another figure of 428 and another figure of 392. So that's a huge one there. Mr. Mahama again disclosed that in 18 centers in that same constituency in Binduri, more than 6,000 people, their names were omitted from the register. In the Japa constituency, which is in the Upper West region, the figure of those who couldn't find their names on the register, according to Mr. Mahama, are 2,057. Klotekole, 2,054 people couldn't find their names on the register in 12 different centers. Mr. Mahama again said that in the Krowo constituency, 2,453 people in 8 different centers couldn't find their names. And then he referenced the situation in Ashaiman, which has mainly been led by the MP and Esnobe, that up to 21,000 people, including Mr. Nobe himself, didn't have their names on the register when they protested. A new document was produced, but even that still had about 7,000 names missing. The others that are being mentioned include in the voter region as well. We know that's the NDC's main stronghold. In the voter region, Mr. Mahama detailed some of the missing names on the register. The Ketu South constituency, there are 6,185 of them. In the Anglo constituency, 984. In the Ketu North, 260. In the Keta constituency, 275. And in the northern region, then in the Kraga, there are more than 2,000 people. So they went on to give those specific details. But apart from that, the NDC is introducing a new claim as far as the issues with the register are concerned. Mr. Mahama said that in the Asawasi constituency, for example, which is just one of the 3 out of the 49 seats that the NDC holds in the region, they've seen a situation where 907 additional names have appeared mysteriously on the register, which wasn't part of the full list that they had as at the time that the registration exercise ended. And Mr. Mahama went on to claim that when they did the tallying of the figures as far as the registration is concerned from all the different constituencies across the country, they are seeing that in a number of the places, the figures are going up. And they say these figures represent the few that they've been minded to point out, but it's a bigger problem than even those specific details that they are putting up.
But Joseph, despite all of these concerns that the NDC raises, they also seem ready to engage. And Mr. Mahama touched a bit on that as well.
He made the point that a letter had actually gone out to officials of the Electoral Commission, particularly the Electoral Commissioner herself, demanding answers on some of these concerns that have come up. But more importantly, he said that the EC is getting into all these challenges because it's ignoring the advice of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee and is refusing to engage IPAC when it's taking decisions on some of these things. He went on to make the point that when you look at some of these challenges that are coming up, you recall that the EC did indicate that they are extending the whole exercise when it comes to the exhibition by 2 days. For Mr. Mahama, that is not enough. More time is needed. But more fundamentally, he thinks that it's a problem that stemmed from the fact that there was a flawed registration in the first place. So he made the point that going forward, their specific demand to the EC is that they would want to see the cleaning up being done to the register, after which the EC should come back with another exhibition exercise for people to double confirm their names. And he thinks that it's the rushed nature of the initial registration that is actually creating some of these challenges. So that engagement, he says, is that engagement, Mr. Mahama says, is something that they are willing to do. But he goes on to say that he thinks the EC has taken a posture that paints the picture that they are not ready to engage the various political parties, particularly the Inter-Party Advisory Committee. They are again making a demand that the EC should go ahead and publish the full list of those additions that they've made to the register. You recall that Mr. Mahama had recently spoken about a video that had been circulating, and the claim being that there were new people who were being registered. The EC responded in a statement and said that this was a case of duplicated numbers that was being rectified. Mr. Mahama says they would want a full publication of the said additional names that's been added onto the list in the course of these duplication exercises, without which they think that it would be a difficult challenge going forward. Speaking of the engagement, there was actually a direct question to the NDC as to whether they would want to get the Peace Council or other civil society organizations involved in getting their demands met. Mr. Asiru Nketia, who is the party's General Secretary, said that this is something that's unfolding, that the Peace Council and other organizations should be seeing unfold, and on their own, they can go ahead and engage in the necessary intervention to rectify the situation. But Mr. Asiru Nketia laid the problem directly at the doorstep of the EC and said that the EC actually has an advisory council of very eminent people who, according to him, are virtually in cahoots with the EC to engage in some of these activities, which he thinks is very worrying.
Well, Joseph, I was just going to ask you about the posturing of the EC, as Mr. Mahama puts it, but you've already rightly spoken to that. If there's anything else that our viewers ought to know, you added. Otherwise, that's it for me.
So the NDC, Mr. Mahama, and the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, are raising concerns with what they say is a breach of the constitutional instrument that allows for the EC to go on with its work. And according to them, the EC is mandated to publicly put out whatever the details of its voters register is, to the extent that it's supposed to be out there on their website, which they've not seen being done by the EC. And so they want to see a situation where that said breach is rectified. Mr. Idrisu again raised concern that when Parliament actually oversaw approval for the budgets of the Electoral Commission to undertake the voter registration exercise, the general expectation was that they would come up with a register that's superior and is making use of a more superior technology than what existed previously. But as a party, and Mr. Mahama made this point, they are disappointed that even after the millions of dollars that was sunk into the new registration exercise, the outcome is what they think is a flawed document that they think is very worrying. And finally, Mr. Mahama gave a directive to the various party executives at the constituency level and the regional level to suspend all campaigning. You know that Mr. Mahama and Professor Nano Pukojman have suspended their campaigns. He has given an additional directive that at the constituency level, the parliamentary candidates and the executive should go ahead and suspend their campaigning and pay particular attention to the exhibition exercise, after which they can then go ahead and resume their campaign.
Interesting. Joseph, thank you so much for those updates there, comprehensively put together. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo monitored that press conference by the NDC. Well, the Electoral Commission earlier at a just-ended Inter-Party Advisory Committee meeting assured that political parties that it is committed to safeguarding the integrity of the electoral roll as they pledge to rectify these anomalies that have characterized the ongoing exhibition exercise. Director of Communications Sylvia Ano says the Commission will soon commence a continuous registration exercise to allow persons who were unable to register during the mass registration exercise to do so. She has been speaking to Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
With IPAC, you always have divergent. Most of the time, you have divergent views, and for us, it's very normal. Except that when the issues come up, we also need to educate the general public and let them know that the Electoral Commission will not delete the names of qualified persons from the voters register. And again, to assure the general public that the Electoral Commission is doing all in its power to ensure that all the problems that have arisen out of the within the process are being rectified.
Now, finally, what's the way forward now? Now that we are done with IPAC, what's the way forward? I know that you've extended the registration, the exhibition exercise, 2 more days, so it's not going to end on Sunday. And again, we are told that there's some continuous registration. I mean, what was this?
the details will be unfolded by the commission. It may be announced by the commission, so let's wait. No. At the moment, let's talk about the exhibition. That's the most important thing. At the right time. From the EC itself. Yeah, the commission may come out to announce that. So let's wait for that to happen. You know, the details of that to be.
Was it part of your conversation? Because other political parties talked about it when I was speaking to them.
Yes, the commission will come out formally to announce it. The continuous registration and come out with the modalities and the dates, you know, to allow those who for one reason or the other could not register during the period that was allotted, you know, the general public to do so.
I see. And when should we expect this announcement?
As soon as practicable, the commission will come out. Very soon.
We are barely just about 12 days to enter the 60 days cut-off point. Is it feasible?
The commission is mindful of that, so definitely it will be within the scope.
But is it feasible? You register, you exhibit, they validate their names before you capture them?
It is doable.
It is doable?
Yes. Let us wait for the commission to come out.
Is it doable? The NDC does not think so. The NDC says this is not feasible, considering that we have about 12 days to the 60-day cut-off point.
Anybody who registers 60 days before the elections cannot vote anyway. Just in the next 10 or 12 days, we will enter that 60 days. So why the need for a continuous registration at that time?
So the explanation is that they will register, but they're not going to vote. Is that not okay?
Yeah, but you have your hands around the registration, which has been a messy registration that is unprecedented. It has had issues that are unprecedented in this country. Your systems are not working well. In fact, a male and a female has been caught as the same person by your biometric, which means that we have thrown away a very credible biometric system for a very inferior one. Because there are several instances one person has been deemed to register twice within a span of 6 seconds. There are instances where at the same center, somebody has been deemed to register. Meanwhile, on that machine, there should be an EFIS that will disallow the registration twice, instantly.
So for you, the EC should abandon the idea of the continuous registration exercise?
Well, I am of the view, and it's common sense, that if you register continuously now, you have to exhibit, and that exhibition must also take place within the 12 days. So you say you are going to tell political parties, give the modalities for continuous registration. We are 12 days away. So it comes on, and then maybe the next 2 or 3 days, you send us the modalities. Continuous registration happens, and within the next 2 or 3 days, you need to exhibit, which means you need to put the data together and print. You see, these people have lost.
Technically impossible. That's what you say.
Well, if you say that it's technically impossible per the experience we have had, we told the Electoral Commission that it was technically impossible to have any meaningful register within this short time, and we are all witnesses to what is happening.
So that's the Director of IT for the NDC, Osei Kwame Greenfield. Got to take a very quick break, but before that, today is Thursday. So we're looking at the Battleground, our new program on radio that looks at the areas of contention, if you like. So poor roads, drainage systems remain top of the agenda for residents of Lejokuku constituency. While some believe the current MP, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, deserves a second term for trying to deal with this, others disagree. They say the NDC's Ben Aiku deserves to be elected. Here is what to expect on Battleground with MFA Apau this evening.
The Lejokuku constituency covers areas including Tribleu, South and North Teshinungwa estates and Abolebu. The residents, including fisher folk who ply their trade along the coast, have their own concerns.
For us as the fisher folks, they have not even finished with the projects here for us to be able to assess them. If someone promises to give you a car but is yet to hand it over to you, there's little you can say till you get it. Even our roads have not been completed. This gutter has also been here for so many. People keep dying and the politicians do nothing about it. But when it's time for elections, they'll come and promise new things, then abandon us after that.
No mini generation wo ba ka atwa na me yende chief na ga shin wo MP ne ni bane ahead to ne get bateshi ne afiku na.
This current MP brought a lot of harbor motors for the fishermen. I'm really impressed. It's never happened in Teshi. I only wish they had given them out on credit for more people to own some.
We are happy with Okoboy. You know, the main trade here at Teshi is fishing, but there's no factory to process or store the fishes. If the waves get turbulent and you cannot swim, you'll die.
The constituency made news in 2019 when residents demanded that a 7.5-kilometer road that passes in front of the Lekma Hospital is fixed.
It's a dusty ride and it's a bumpy ride.
We have complained about this issue to government, but nothing has been done about it. Our MP came here during elections. He campaigned about this road. Our MP promised to fix the roads for us, but after elections, nothing has been done. All the roads linking to other parts of the communities are all in bad state. Just take a look at me. I'm even sick. We plead that they do something about these roads.
We voted for MPP because of this. We didn't vote because the NDC couldn't do anything about it.
This road has since been fixed with contractors placing level of completion over 80%. The residents who are vocal and passionate about development are looking forward to the December polls.
Registration but is it the consideration of the law?
The NPP's Bernard Okoboy will be seeking to make history as being the first MP to be given a second term. The NDC's Benayiku will have none of that, but the voters will decide, and they took turns to make a case for their candidates.
Well, if you want to hear more of that debate, tune in to Joy FM 99.7 at 8 p.m. for the Battleground with MFA Apau. Joseph Kable put together that report from the constituency. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty and Dope. I will take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. The Asafohene for the Imponyahene of the Utu Traditional Council has died, whilst 3 others are in critical condition after a group of land guards stormed their community. The people, numbering about 10, opened fire on the victims, according to those who saw them, on a land at Ewutu Kwaubonze near Kaswa in the central region. According to sources, the attack occurred when the Asafohene and his team went to the site to pay workers who are constructing a fence wall. Kofi Ejay is Adom FM's reporter. He's joining me with some details. Hello, Kofi. Kofi, so what are the eyewitnesses to this? What more are the eyewitnesses to this incident telling you?
According to eyewitness, it was between 2 land guard groups. The first people went to the site. They are fighting over a parcel of land. So the first group will lay ambush on the land. It is very, very far from Ofakor Township or Kwabodi Township. So they had information that another group wanted to come to the site. So the first group lay ambush on the land, waiting for the second group. So immediately they saw the second group coming and they opened fire on them. So eyewitness told us that it was between both of them. Both of them were firing gunshots, and in the process, the first group guns were very powerful than the second group. That is why the first group were able to overcome the second group. So, as I'm speaking to you now, the 3 people who were seriously injured have been referred to Winneba Trauma and Specialist Hospital, whilst
the police are still investigating to the matter. We just came from the site.
Right. And you said that the police are investigating this matter. What exactly are the police telling you?
Well, District Police Commander, DSP Samuel Amfo, who is District Commander for Odupo of Akko, he told us that so far as it's between a land litigation issue and the land guard issue, region and national have overtake the matter. I think they have deployed some men from region and national to help them to investigate them. So as I'm speaking to you, he cannot comment about it, but what he can say is that they are still investigating to the matter and arrest those people who lay ambush on the land.
Let's talk about the body of the beheaded body, or that's what we're learning of this Safohene that was found. What do you know as far as this incident? I mean, the incident leading to his death.
Mbonuahin told us that as I'm speaking to you now, the body has not also been found. Okay. We went to the site with the police. We are still searching around the area whether we can find where the body is, because what the Mbonuahin told us is that after the first group shot Safohene, they took the body away. So now the police are searching the area to find the body.
What we heard earlier, I mean, there were people who were sending in messages indicating they'd found a beheaded body in this particular area. The police hasn't been able to confirm this.
Please, can you come again?
There were earlier we were receiving some messages from people within this area who said that they had found this beheaded body of this man in somewhere around Kaswa. The police has not confirmed this to you.
No. Police has not confirmed anything to us yet. Because the whole issue is that it's a land litigation issue, and that place, the situation there is serious.
Land litigation is pretty common.
Yeah, it's very common. The police commander doesn't want to maybe align to any one part, so they are very careful on how to comment about the issue. So what he told us that they are investigating by the close of tomorrow, they will find out where the body is and if they are able to make any arrest.
All right, Kofi Ajay, thank you very much. Kofi Ajay there. The earlier report we had received was that the beheaded body had been found, but we're getting more clarification on that, and it is that the police has not been able to confirm the location of the body of this chief who's Asafohene, who is apparently the Asafohene in the Ewutu traditional area. We'll keep our eyes on that story and bring you the clarifications as we get along the line. But right now, let me take you up north. Public Relations Officer for the Pwalugu Dam project, David Pra, has told JoyNews that work on the 1 billion facility has only stalled because of the Battlegrounds Dam spillage and resultant flooding. The dam has been touted as the solution to the perennial flooding which ravages 3 regions in northern Ghana. Workers on the site had indicated that there have been delays in the construction of this dam because of the flooding. There is more.
That you saw campsite, but we have not finished with all of them because we are going to take at least at a go about 1,002 workers on the site. This is a huge project, so about 1,002 workers on the site. About 50 workers can live there, but it's an ongoing activity. Kindly note that the area that we have even earmarked for construction of campsites are there, the additional campsites. But unfortunately, because of the high level of the water, and then because we are going to, the core area that we are going to work is in the water. It's very prudent and wise that you stay off and let the danger recede, and then you can proceed. Otherwise, how do you go? People's properties have been flooded. Meanwhile, we need to value those properties. We need to demarcate properly lift what we have on the drawing on the site.
Right.
And in some cases, there can even be some little variation.
Right.
So please, let the flood recede a bit, and then you can ask, I will go on tour with you because our multimedia has been very helpful. Let me tell you, when we started with this project, you've been very helpful. But construction of dam is not like possibly one or two things. No.
David Pra there. However, Kobna Yakubu, who is a carpenter now serving as a caretaker at the stored construction site, tells Super Morning Show host Kojo Yangson that the flooding did not actually affect the construction site.
We can see that the water is white water is just here.
Just here.
Okay.
Just at the corner of okay. It's not far from us.
So when the Pwalugu Dam was built, did the water affect your work here?
No, please.
Okay. So you have been able to continue working.
To work.
Okay. Okay. So now that they are working on the interchange before they come, so what do you guys do here?
We are watching the distance, the materials that park here.
You are just looking after the
just looking for it, yes.
But you don't actually do any work?
No, we don't work. We don't work. We don't work.
Okay.
We don't work.
So when did they say when they are going to finish the interchange and come? Did they tell you maybe October, November, December?
They are expecting for some money.
Okay.
They said even when the money comes for them, when they receive the money, they will come tomorrow. That's why
they are waiting for money.
For money.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they told us.
I see.
But everything that they said, they are ready for it. They are ready for the work.
Okay.
And that's why
they are just waiting for the money. I see.
This year, when the dam was built, our conversation with the Minister for Works and Housing revealed that the government of Ghana is implementing what they call the final solution, the Pwalugu Dam. This dam is supposed to offtake the water whenever the Pwalugu Dam is built in Burkina Faso. So all the water in the white water that rises up and floods 3 regions will be directed into the Pwalugu Dam for electricity as well as irrigation. It's not the first time this idea has come up. In 2008, the government of Ghana secured over $500 million to build the Pwalugu Dam. That money got diverted into road construction. This time around, government of Ghana has secured almost $1 billion to build the same dam. This is evidence of what work has been done so far. Chinese partners will be constructing the project. Let's go in and have a look.
So how long have you been at this location?
We are here for 3 months now.
3 months?
3 months
okay.
now.
And what are you building here?
We are for here, it's just for temporary camp.
Okay.
So this block that they are molding is for the camp that they are going to use for building it.
Okay.
And these are the project distance panels. This one that we are going to use for the concrete for dam site.
Okay.
These are all the material for the distance.
So this is just where the workers will be staying, the temporary camp.
No, well, no. Yeah, the temporary camp. We are all staying here. Yeah.
But okay, so
and then the Chinese people, we are all staying here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But these things, they are going to use them to build
a camp, rooms. For us to stay.
For you to stay in. All right. Okay.
But they told us that here is a distant warehouse. They said they would use this one for warehouse.
Okay.
And then this at the back of the zinc. That's the place where they are going to build the camp.
The camp for the
us.
residents.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in the end, you will build a warehouse and then a camp there.
Yes, please.
Where would the dam be?
It will be this side, behind the mountain.
Okay, so down that way.
Yeah, downside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can see that the water is the volta, white volta is just here.
Just here. Yeah.
Okay,
just at the corner of us. It's not far from us.
So when the Pwalugu Dam was spilled, did the water affect your work here?
No, please.
Okay. So you have been able to continue working.
To work.
Okay. All right. And for 3 months, I don't see much. It seems you have just stored your things here, but I haven't seen any.
When the first thing when we came, all of here was just bush.
Okay.
We cleared the road from Pwalugu to here.
So you made the route from Pwalugu to all the way here,
and from Pwalugu to here is 21 miles. We started it first before we come here.
Okay.
Kojo Yankson with that report. Let me talk to you about family planning. Well, throughout this week, experts are keeping a focus on how to increase public awareness and acceptance of family planning. They've also been working to advocate increased commitment to family planning as an essential component of the national health and socio-economic development. The theme for this year's commemoration of Family Planning Week is in Ghana is hashtag Ready for Contraception, Ready for My Future. It's an everyday thing. In studio is Doris J. DDNS, that's the Deputy Director Nursing Services at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. From the Ghana Health Service, we're hoping to be joined by someone from the Ghana Health Service. We don't. So we're going to start our family planning conversation. First of all, finding out how important, like we don't know already. We do know that it's very important, but the hype used to be very, high back then. These days, it's like we're not talking about it anymore. Remind us again how important family planning is.
Thank you very much. Family planning is very, very important because it helps the individual, the couple, partners to know the number of children they want to have, at what time, and how. It also helps the individual to control the time he or she wants to have children.
I see.
Because if I'm not married or I'm married and I want to have sex, it's not every time that I want to have children. So it helps the individual to know what to use or how to go about it. Okay. It also helps the individual to, have the peace of mind when she's not or he's not ready to have children. Yeah.
Well, let's look at the situation in Ghana. Like I said, I remember back then there were so many adverts on TV about, birth control. These days, we don't see so much. What is the situation in terms of the trends in Ghana right now when it comes to family planning?
Yes, it's very interesting that we don't see these things on TV anymore. And people would then go and have sex without any control. It looks like it's come down a little bit. I don't have all the statistics with me, but there are people who also want to use modern contraceptives, but they are not getting access to it because of distance.
First of all, you said that it's gone down a bit.
It's gone down. I don't have all the
that's okay.
statistics.
That's okay. But we don't even need the statistics as long as you are a practicing nurse, so you are in the system. Do you know why? Do you get a sense why it's gone down?
I think people are scared of the rumors that go around family planning. So there's an instance when someone will tell you that I've never had a child, this is the first time, so I'm not going to use anything. But you need to explain to the person that she needs to space the childbirth because people ovulate just after 6 weeks after delivery. So if you should have sex after six weeks, then you ovulate, you can get pregnant.
But that will be 6 weeks after your child.
Yes, which no woman would want to do.
I see.
Even if the child is 6 months, you don't want to get pregnant at 6 months after delivery.
But is that the reason
people are not visiting the clinics so much
as they should? You say the reason is that there are rumors.
Rumors for
why
side
is that
effects.
Even a problem? Okay.
The side effects. The myths around it, the misconceptions. People say if you use family planning, you never have more children, or you grow very fat, or you grow lean. All the
But
stories
isn't there some
around
truth in this?
There is some truth. So that is why family planning, you need to have a good counseling. Before you start any method, you need to come to the clinic and then we do counseling, proper counseling, and you will choose. We call it informed choice.
Take us through some of the available options when it comes to family planning.
Okay, we have what we call the short-acting reversible contraceptives, which some are the injectables, the pills, oral pill, the condoms, and the natural methods, what we call the cycle B, standards day methods. And the person needs to know when she's supposed to have sex. If she doesn't want to have children, when to have sex and when not to have sex, when to have protected sex and when not to have protected sex.
Okay.
So apart from the short-acting reversible ones, then we have the long-acting reversible contraceptives. These are all reversible, and they are the copper IUDs, the one we put into the uterus, then the implants where we put into the and so the IUD, we have two types. The one that is non-hormonal, that is for 12 years. The hormonal ones are for 5 years.
Which means you can't have children for 5 years.
That is if you want to.
Okay.
But it can be inserted for the 12 years. But then if you want it out at 1 year, 6 months, anytime you want it out, you can come and remove it.
Wow.
Then we have the implants, 5 years, and then some are for 3 years. And then we have the permanent ones. The permanent is the vasectomy for men, and then bilateral tubal ligation for the women, where you cannot have children again. So it's a hard decision where you need to go through counseling. But for every method, the lady or the man has to go through counseling.
From your experience, which one is the most used or the most preferred method?
From where I work, I can see that the long-acting methods are in use a lot.
Okay.
The IUDs and then the implants.
Okay.
But with the injectables, we have so many clinics around where you can just go have your counseling and then take the jab. But for the IUDs and then the implants, they are more, invasive. So from my
invasive?
end,
tell me about being invasive.
If I say invasive, it's in quotes, because with the IUD, you need to go through counseling. After the counseling, you lie down, we put an instrument in the vagina of the woman, and then introduce the IUD in. Okay. So if I say invasive, it's not about, something scary. Okay. But within 5 minutes, it is done.
Wow. Is it painful?
It's uncomfortable. I wouldn't say it's painful. It's a bit uncomfortable because putting something in the woman's, vagina is a bit uncomfortable when it is not what she wants.
Okay, I can imagine. Okay, but then which one would you say is the easiest, and which one would you recommend for the majority of women who don't have enough courage to go for, the uncomfortable ones, etc.?
Sorry.
It's all right.
When it comes to family planning, it's a woman or the man's choice. So we don't have, let's say you've come to me for family planning method. I'm not going to tell you to use A, B, or C. I'll do the counseling, show you how each one works, and then you have to choose. So when you choose, then I tell you the in and outs of it. Okay. Because if I choose for you, there are some, the hormonal ones do not allow the woman to ovulate, so she might not have her normal periods. Okay. When it happens like that, then she may be thinking otherwise. But for a lot of women, they want to see their periods every month.
Even though they don't
want to have children.
Okay.
So with the culture and how we're brought up, you want to see your periods every month. And if you don't see your period, some people think she's less of a woman.
Okay.
But that is not the case. Some women also do not want to see any blood so it's for them it's good.
It's okay.
So if I explain how each one works, then you pick
what's works.
So for the easiest, maybe the injectable.
The injectable, because I've seen a lot of people do that.
And then the pill So I'm not going to tell you to use A, B, or C.
Okay, it's up to what you choose. Talking about pills, though, what would you say about the ones that you can just walk to the pharmacy and just get? I mean, there are people who use so after sex pill, for example. Are those healthy, or are those healthy ways of engaging contraceptives?
I would say yes and no. For that's emergency contraceptive you're talking of, saying that it's after sex.
Yes.
Yes, that one is emergency. But unfortunately, we realize that people are using it as their daily or regular method. If you find yourself using emergency contraceptive, let's say every other day, then it means you need a regular method, which the oral contraceptive pill, you can also walk to the pharmacy and get that one, to the combined pill.
Is it dangerous to do it, like to consistently be on those after, emergency, so-called emergency after sex pills?
It is not that dangerous, but then it can change your cycle.
Okay.
So you might not be having your periods when you're expecting it, and it might just come at any time. So when you find yourself using it, let's say every time, ladies are using it, I mean, the wrong way. From your
experience?
Yes. We realize that they are using the wrong way. So someone can come to the clinic and say that her periods are not regular, she's bleeding everything. So when you do the counseling, you realize that she's been taking the emergency contraceptive pill every time.
Wow.
Maybe 4 or 5 times in a month, which is not too good for her, and her periods might change. But then you can take it as you want. But then if you also realize that you are taking it more often, then you should go on the regular pill, which you have to take every day.
Okay. Let's wrap up this conversation with the Family Planning Week. What programs are there to commemorate this year?
What they've put in place is to give free counseling to the people who want to know more about family planning. Free condom at vantage places.
Where are these vantage places?
I don't know that one yet. So I know family planning, contraceptive pills, counseling will be done. We'll make a lot of awareness, or create a lot of awareness at our clinic and other places. And then I learned free condoms will be given. We are yet to know the vantage places.
I see. So just a final message for young women who are watching, I've done a story where the women don't decide how many children they want to have. It's up to the men they are living with who decide that, no, I want you to have 4 children. I just wanted to speak to women across the board, from those who can make the decisions for themselves, and those who have to wait for what their husbands or their partners say. What message do you have for people like that in this week of family planning?
I would say that the woman should be empowered enough to know what she wants. So when it comes to married couples, then it shouldn't be it should be we. Because if I want 3 and you want 4, then there wouldn't be that, understanding. So it can bring a lot of challenges. But it's all our responsibility, everybody's responsibilities. So a woman who is having a lot of children, or every year you have 1 child, it's not good for your health. So talk with your husband or your partner to understand that the more children you have at short intervals, it breaks you down. And it doesn't help the couple a lot.
Yeah. And the more you take emergency pills, the more irregular your cycle gets. So if you think that you're having if you think you're having a lot of sex that requires you to take those pills, then you want to go for a more permanent solution to it. Thank you so much for coming. Doris Ajay is Deputy Director, Nursing Services, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, and she's here to share, some education with us on family planning as we commemorate the Family Planning Week. I'm sure that as we go, it's a week-long celebration, so as we go along, we'll talk more. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Well, I hope this has helped you, and I hope that you'll be able to take informed decisions and make informed choices with this conversation. Now, checks by JoyNews at some hospitals this morning show that the striking nurses have resumed work. On Monday, September 21, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association defied a court order restraining them from embarking on their intended industrial action. Patients at various hospitals across the country were left unattended to or turned away. Some of the health centers in the Northeast region shut down completely. The aggrieved nurses were demanding unpaid arrears in allowances, among others. So on Wednesday, which was yesterday, the nurses, after returning to the negotiation table with their employer and the National Labour Commission, have since called off the strike temporarily. My colleague Manuel Kranting went back to the Accra Regional Hospital, where doctors were earlier taking up additional roles, and reports the nurses are at their post this morning.
I heard that they went for strike, but they resumed this morning, so they are preparing to come attend to us here.
I'm so glad they are on duty, yes. This is my first time coming here. I hope the government sorts out things with them as soon as possible so that we can visit the facility anytime we want to come here. We learned they were on strike and we heard they've resumed, so the number of patients here is encouraging. We are hoping that from tomorrow, then tomorrow next, everybody can come here.
Well, I felt bad because without them, the patients, what are we going to do? So they have to take care of us. So we feel bad, but we thank God that they have come.
I was here last week, but we heard it in the news that they were on strike. But then yesterday we heard that they have come back to work. That's why I'm here.
And when you came, what has been the picture here?
It's quite, they are working.
Okay.
They are here and they are working.
Okay. Yes. So you're optimistic that they'll continue working?
We are all concerned about it.
Doctor bisa pam say enya namba no ba hospital ti me fa ne yedon enko me pa ne chompo mo mi mpom so me sra no nurse bia ni ha doctor fo nko ana yedon e wa ha no doctor e bia we ko we ba we o flo obi ampa obi enya ta ma yedon e ma eja e chapa na me adum wa yi me benefit mo eja
the doctor for energy now.
Doctor for me energy no nurse bia ni hanom aha meti abontin hent mahu se bebire ebi abetwitwa mu anti afa na mesimi bewura inside ho na de enim se dan nyame adom omo aba omo kwa de se enye papo nti yesere aban yesere ne se ohu ye mobo na omo na wo ega fi se nurse fo ni ho no nsem bebre nurse obi ba wo to ha se o se nka nurse wa ha nka bia e masa onipa ne kire se wa chia onye obi njina wo efom ha na obe wo to nti yesere aban ohu ye mobo na nurse fo no eja bibi on shawo mo ma won fe so mu ni ho ayensu eni ho nurse for no eja oyi nyame a omo na wo ho
akuma na ye me ya na me ba hospital o ye me ya 5 days ni ina ene ansa na me yeska na me de ba hospital minim so mo strike but ene me ba hwe se ombeti ni anya kon ya hwe me ba e de omo ba next for mo hwe me se eba kitikpa eba serious this say me wo anu no
Sunday no e wa atomic e de ne baaye no ya de scan bibia aba omo ka kire me say omo hu hwe enti enfa ni nkofie na me say onipa o yare no mo hu hwe onipa na fie no say de o ya no kra de ni san dru fie e bia ye nya o nya nkwa enti e pa mo chaw omo si da bi da na adwo no oba no beka ase David sade ne yere ne ye no e de ne kofi enya papa enti ye pa omo chaw omo de omo mane na ho na omo treat ni kakra na ade ye chi a ye mind na ne ade no average omo se mfa ni kofi still eni ase se mfa ni kofi enti sister me kuma no kitanya na otofo ye de ne ba ha de and the doctors need the make up my catch on saying I mean shroud. And he didn't drew her near Monday na and I'm didn't call theatre. Na nurses for her. Na doctors na never her. And that you who nurses na feel me who some more back. Me nim I said me shada nim ha. Beba. Said the doctors yard in sa no mo so. Amo be yo mo adwuma. Mo so nya me nhira mo.
And there's no reward, as Nyamishrao, as she puts it. Thank you so much to our nurses for going back to work, and hopefully we'll resolve this once and for all. This is still The Pulse with me, Gift and Doppy.